A modern corporation operates as a massively complex machine. It constantly balances human unpredictability against rigid financial mathematics. Running this entity requires an operator to navigate two distinct axes: the behavioral patterns of the workforce and the rigid architecture of the firm's capital structure. A manager cannot rely on gut instinct. Intuition fails when scaling operations or mitigating systemic financial risk. Successful management requires diagnosing business scenarios using precise, proven theoretical frameworks. The process mirrors a doctor diagnosing a patient using biological markers. By examining primary business case studies, we can extract three critical mechanics of management. The first two mechanics involve applying structural organizational principles and operationalizing psychological motivation theories. The third mechanic addresses the mathematical calculus of financial leverage. Mastering these three frameworks transforms abstract business theory into highly predictable, measurable actions and quantified risk. We begin with Henri Fayol's Principles of Management, the foundational rules dictating structural integrity. This Aditi's Boutique case study tests Fayol's principles. Aditi divided the work, applying the division of work principle to increase efficiency. Furthermore, salespersons have a discount limit, but Aditi retains final authority. This distribution of power demonstrates balancing centralization, the concentration of decision-making authority, with decentralization, the delegation of authority to lower levels. But shifting focus to the second paragraph reveals a critical structural failure. Aditi exhibits bias towards female employees during conflict resolution, violating the principle of equity, which demands impartial treatment. Violating equity threatens the stability and morale of the organizational structure, degrading the predictable output of the workforce. Once the structure is set, its nodes must be filled. This introduces staffing, a precise process for human resource allocation. In the Sanduja furniture case, the HR manager executes staffing as a pipeline, estimating manpower requirements, moving to recruitment via ads, and executing selection through capability tests. Fayol's principles are load-bearing walls. If parameters like equity or division of work fail, the human infrastructure collapses, regardless of who is staffed inside. Directing is the execution phase of management, where human psychology transitions from abstract theory into an operational variable. In an industrial hazard scenario, ECL underground mine workers faced severe risks of inundation and fire breakouts. We analyze their behavior through psychologist Abraham Maslow, who posited that human needs dictate behavior in a strict sequence. This 5-tier pyramid maps Maslow's need hierarchy. Lower-level physiological and safety requirements must be satisfied first. Applying the ECL mine case explains the workers' demotivation as severe fire hazards threatened their base level. Because their safety and security needs were threatened, the psychological prerequisites for higher-order productivity were absent. Safety Officer Mr. Diali intervened using democratic leadership, actively consulting his workers. By consulting the team, he satisfied their belongingness needs, the human desire for affiliation, stabilizing the group. Following the hazards mitigation, Mr. Diali received a bravery award. This non-financial incentive fulfills the apex of the psychological framework, esteem needs, including dignity, recognition, and respect. Effective directing requires diagnosing exactly where employees are stuck on the hierarchy and applying precise leadership to elevate them. Scaling physical footprints requires fuel. In the RK Cement case, the owner aims to acquire a steel factory, requiring a 60 crore investment. This expansion is a capital budgeting decision, a planning process to evaluate long-term investments that permanently alter earning capacity. RK Cement faces a core financial dilemma. How do you fund a 60 crore expansion without destroying baseline stability? The advisor recommended a mix of capital, 60% debt and 40% equity. This weighing scale maps the structure. A graph tracks earnings per share, and a gauge monitors financial risk. This is trading on equity, employing borrowed money to increase returns. Why take on massive debt instead of issuing more shares? The advantage is mathematical. Loan interest is tax-deductible, making debt technically cheaper to service than issuing equity dividends from after-tax profits. Employing this cheaper debt mathematically enhances earnings per share. Shareholders get a higher return, and the owner does not dilute his control. However, there is a dangerous, unavoidable constraint to this aggressive financial strategy: the firm's overall risk profile. As earnings per share rise through leverage, the company's financial risk, its probability of insolvency due to fixed interest obligations, drastically increases. Managers must optimize this ratio against EBIT, earnings before interest and taxes, and actual cash flow. If cash flow stutters, heavy debt will crush the firm. Capital structure is not about avoiding debt. It is a calculated optimization problem where managers weaponize financial risk to maximize shareholder wealth. A successful business does not operate on instinct, luck, or charisma, mathematical principles, like Fayol's division of work and equity. Its operational efficiency is dictated by psychological alignment, mapping human effort directly to the satisfaction of Maslow's hierarchy. Managers generate aggressive growth through the cold mathematics of capital structure and financial leverage. These three disparate disciplines connect into one unified theory of management. Mastering business studies is about training your mind to view any corporate scenario as a matrix of these interconnected, measurable, and highly controllable variables.